Yeah.
Because I think it's a really good job of introducing young folks.
For sure.
But then
It's simply because there are a lot of names in there already, and I was very conscious of trying to tell a story in the text, as well as obviously naming important people. I mean, the other obvious admission is Shabaka Hutchins, who's had a huge impact on musicians in this country in the last. Cole, who's from Birmingham, who's a really, really gifted player. I mean, he won a BBC, won the BBC Young Jazz Musician of the Year a few years ago. I feel that he's one of Soweto's musical heirs, musical children, as it were. And I wanted to make a point of mentioning Xhosa because British jazz, black British jazz, is not just a London phenomenon. That's hugely important. It's a national phenomenon. So Birmingham, Leeds, you know, these cities are really important. I mean, Leeds is really important to Black Britain anyway, in terms of its Caribbean community and what it's done for carnival culture in this country. So, you know, I thought it was important to mention Xhosa so that we had a regional focus as well as a metropolitan. Big up Birmingham. Michael, just a little anecdote. So Michael Riley from Steel Pulse, who I think might be making a contribution later on. When I interviewed him for one of the books that I wrote, we talked about everybody likes reggae, right? Everybody's heard of Steel Pulse, for sure. Yeah, we were talking about Steel Pulse, and he was saying that Birmingham is the most Jamaican part of Britain, even more so than London. But when people go to Birmingham, there's a shock. It's like being back in Yard, you know, being back in Jamaica. That was his interpretation of what Black Birmingham is like. Handsworth, you know, the sound system culture there is really, really strong. So Birmingham as a black music city, not just reggae, but jazz as well. There's another great saxophonist who we could mention called Andy Hamilton, who was from Jamaica, who settled in Birmingham, made a huge impact on the scene.
And can I say, he made his first album age about 60-something, very late in his life.
So he was a legendary musician, he was a great.
100th month of that year, I think 2018, recommended book. And this year, I'm reviewing his latest book, and it's killing me. I have to read so much because I'm not taking any chances, because I have to give you the respect. If you know about research, and what research this guy has done to write the book, I don't have to rush. You know, sometimes I don't want to lump everything to Black History Month, African History Month. You should go to read history every time. The nuts that I've made in this book, I told him today, I know quite a lot about British black music, but reading this guy's book, I realized I hardly know anything. So many new names, so many acts, so many connections. And I know because I do research, I can see where it's coming from. And so if you're into history and music, you really have to buy his book, the second one. We'll talk royalties later. You know, sometimes people are stupid because it's the media stuff. You get people to do it. And to me, it was quite impressive that you're trying your own gig. So that's, the link to that is, especially Reading, people put a lot of names on the plans that are not confirmed just to try and get people in. I don't do that. So I only have to put names that are confirmed. So Audrey didn't confirm, so her name wasn't on there. I'm glad that she said she can do it because she's got an important organization, and you guys need to know about it. It's quite new. So it's not just about music, it's about the business. So, Audrey, can you unmute?
Yeah.
How do you display something, or are you going to talk to camera?
Let's see. I think if you give me share permissions, I could share something.
Okay, so let's see how the thing works. You try going and see what it tells you.
So it
Whether it
says
allows you to. Does it say no?
it says it's not turned on.
Oh, there's somebody help me because I've never had to tell. Don't worry, there's an expert coming.
All right.
Yes, so what we're going to do, I think, yeah. So now, shall we make it big on the screen? Who knows the technology? I don't know the technology. No, I think I have to leave my presence. And then you can go into presentation mode. So, except you want the sidebar.
The sidebar's fine.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before she does this, she was previously CEO of GMIA. This sounds very much like our other organization, the Gospel Music Industry Association, which is some good stuff. Look, I don't travel much. I went to Birmingham for one of their sessions because they're trying to bring business savvy to the gospel sector. So she's moved with her colleague who happens to be a Ghanaian. So Ghanaians are running things. Miss Lai over there. They said that was something called black men. So I don't know what she's going to say. So let me shut up and let her do her own thing. Go ahead. You know something? You know how I can call this.
Entertainment sector for about 18 years, working with artists, literally starting from vocal coaching artists and then sort of taking them from there to introducing them to musicians and then introducing them to producers and then realising by default. So I was actually managing these people, aka running with blood to water, and then eventually sort of figured out what they needed more than management was education. So kind of shifted the goal into artist development, and that went on for a good while. As mentioned, I was the former CEO of the Gospel Music Industry Alliance, which is the UK genre trade body in effect for gospel. And during my time there, I managed to broker a relationship with RSL, which is a rock school awards basically, to create the first gospel music accredited course. Also was able to contribute to it as well, so that was really great. During that time I met Kwame, and we found these really common goals of shifting an artist from one place to another and getting artists mobilised was a big issue. And then the funding that is applied to artists to get them mobilised sometimes is failing, the criteria are failing because they're using metrics that are just not viable for every black genre. So we started Black Mix, and it's the first UK black export office nationally. Up until maybe not last month or the month before, Greater Manchester Council now have a music export office, but it's quite astounding that music is such a big economy driver, but we haven't had an export office that has been functioning. Of course, our focus is around the black music genre, so it doesn't matter if you're black or white, it's the genre itself and representing the genre, the authenticity of the genre, creating bilateral relationships to allow the movement of the genre and to consider the nuances of working with other genres as well. We started last year, so it's kind of like our birthday. October is kind of our birthday. Just to bring a little bit of context to UK export, music export. So we probably recognise all these acts and the dynamics that they bring to the music industry and the revenue they bring to the industry and the push in terms of where music goes next. That black music genres are definitely at the heart of what happens in music culture. Don't think anybody in the room would disagree with that. I think we need to acknowledge that music is, from an export point of view, it's a service and a good. So, I'm not going to bore you with these figures, but there they are, for those who want to see the figures. I can circulate this to your team if you'd like me to afterwards as well. I think it's very interesting to see how the global impact of music and how it is unpacking itself, how UK music is unpacking itself globally. And also to make a case for funding, to make a case for more money to be poured into the right pots, to make a case for considering the things that do make a difference to our black music market. Without going on a tangent, I think most black music makers would have figured out when you go to apply for funding that there is criteria that you need to meet, that some of the genres end up being biased in those spaces, or the ways that the metrics that they use. For example, I mean, reggae is a good example, gospel is a good example of genres that are not measured properly because of where they show up. And one really good example of that is if you're going for funding and you're an artist and they say that in order for you to qualify to be an exportable artist, you need to have played 300 cap gig, 600,000, etc. Whereas we know if they're going to spaces or venues that they are looking for you to cap or to meet those numbers, but reggae is one of those genres that show up in fields, in people's housing, in community centres, in parks, and those numbers are not being charted. So you may have an artist that is doing really well in non-formal spaces, but that's not being read by the metrics that they use. It's the same with gospel churches, like could be 5,000 capacity, but you're telling me because I didn't play this 300 capacity place that I do not qualify. But yes, so that's a whole different discussion. And also we've got to look about the technology aspect of it, that there are a lot of Caribbean spots, for example, when they are using only DSPs to measure, that can't even download Spotify. So if they're using Spotify numbers to reckon that this is what will make them applicable for this particular fund, that again, it's going to be a problem. Right? So, as you know, government brought out their strategy. We did do a sort of a response to that strategy. We did notice that Sub-Saharan Africa and the Americas was missing from some of it. And again, these are areas that black music genres show up. We know that Brazil is the second highest outside of the continent of Africa of black population. So black music is being played there in its drones and in its different fusions, from reggaeton to pop and jazz, Peruvian jazz. I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to just skip this to talk about this music incentive that we're doing, which is mapping the music sector around black music. We have 3 forms that we're trying to socialise at the moment, and do click on the QR code to have a look at those forms, to gather data that will support some of what I'm saying, but also on the grander scale support the music creators that are out in the field. We have a form for organisations, which we're asking organisations, talent development organisations and music export offices, to complete this form to let us know about who the decision makers are in these environments. There has been situations where music creators are submitting for applications, but because the board are all non-black, all non-brown, they have not known how to really judge music. They've actually said, things like that I don't know how to judge this music because it's not my music. For goodness sake, it's good music. So that shows that can actually be a hindrance. The music creators forum is collecting data from all the music creators, including DJs now. DJs are producing a lot more music. And we're even asking about AI. Are you producing music by AI as well? So that form will collect information about the artists and their genres. It breaks down into root genres and about 12 different categories, subcategories of each genre. And it also allows them to self-identify their genre. And in doing so, we can pick up really early trends of music changes, where music is changing, where new genres are being created. And then also we can have a look at mapping out an artist's career and their development in terms of artist growth plan, to see where their music is being plotted in order to get to what they are export ready for. Then there is the live performance form, which is collecting information about where they are performing, what the number of audience, where you paid in for your performance, where your funded in any shape or form, where are you showing up and where are you charting those numbers, just to capture again those informal spaces as well as those formal spaces. Again, do click on the code. We've managed to translate some of the forms because we've had so much interest from overseas export offices. We've had Australia, Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe. We've had Colombia interested in working with us because those genres are popping up in those places, and so they really need support. And again, to me, you can't have export without import. We have to be creating those relationships, creating opportunities for collaboration, so that this movement is a lot bigger than just staying indoors. And in doing so, it's actually amplifying the importance of UK music worldwide. We are using some of that time as well to work with an organisation called TAXO, who can monitor and evaluate cultural impact, which is really, really fantastic, of different projects that we're trying to work with different organisations, universities. A lot of the borough councils or the combined councils are quite interested in research that really empowers black music. So that's one big thing that we are doing. These are some of the people that we've been speaking with. I'll need to add you to it. As soon as you get back from Ghana, you need to talk to me. So what do we not do? We're not a talent agent. We're not a recording label. We're not music management. And something that I'm constantly being reminded of by Kwame, because that was my roots. Initially, I mean, it will come up as a subject, but it's not something that we're pursuing to be music management labels. We are looking to support those agencies in what they are doing, and to be able to make, as I say, to make sure that they are considering everything when they are putting out, even so much as a newsletter that's supposed to be trying to pull forward black music genres. How are you navigating that space? What are you not considering? What are you considering? How can we do this better? But yeah, so, and that what we are very much a convener. I mean, that's me overall. I'm very much a convener. The data research, I would say, is probably my sort of area as well. Kwame at the moment is in South Africa at an Access conference, and we'll be looking at some other opportunities there. But I'll leave a little space for questions if there are questions. And we're also doing something called a Global Roundtable, which is we've invited music export offices worldwide and talent development organisations worldwide to come into a space. The next one is in December, to discuss what's happening in their area. How, for example, we get onto festivals as UK acts. So it's a really good space where sort of buyers meet sellers, very, very marketplace in of itself, but it's very, very informative. It's been really powerful to do the first two. And the next one's in December. Again, I should have make sure you're on the invite list. But it's been very informative to speak to people from around the world and realise, wait, you don't like reggae there? Really? Okay, we can link you with this organisation. I'd just like to say I am a product of BBMC. I learned how to splice tape. I used to work in the studio. Learned how to slice tape. I used to coordinate studio, so I am a product of there as well, which is really great. So it's good to hear about that. If you've got questions.
Okay. Well, first of all,
I just wanted to ask if we could have the slide deck from your presentation, please. And also, one thing that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of young people entering the music industry or anywhere near it are not getting the basic skills or tools to navigate the music industry or indeed any business. And things like copyright and IP. So I just wanted to ask if your organisation is actually looking to support early entry into the music industry by giving people the tools so they don't get ripped off.
So, because we work with a lot of talent development organisations, we would usually point them, resource you to those organisations, or, you know, whether it's PRS, PPL, MCPS, the rest of them. So we usually resource people to those organisations. We are going to do the equivalent of Global Roundtable for music creative, and in those sessions for sure we will have workshop-based education around music and publishing and copyright, etc.
Right. And sorry to interrupt. You did say that the slide can share.
Yes.
So she sent it to me, and over 200 people vote. So we sent to her a vote. By the way, other people are listening on the university's online thing, sort of Zoom, but they can't engage, they can only listen. So for those that are listening, unfortunately, they can't really see the screen. You guys are going to get a camera that can move up and down. So I mean, let's start from the bottom of here. The brand can see my feet. But if you're listening, and many of you are, thank you for joining us, and I hope the sound is okay for you at the very least. So on that note, can we say thank you to our Monique, can you unmute and let's see whether the technology is going to stand around? You people in America, don't you have good microphones? I mean, I know there's no more time to tell you guys, you should have some good. Yeah, we can see it. Unmute, please, unmute. Yeah.
Okay, I got one of these mics this time, so
great. So, see whether you can go into share screen, because we really want to get out of the way.
I'm not actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. I don't have anything to share.
Oh, okay.
But.
Oh, come on. It's clear now. The microphone is clear now.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can get it now.
Oh boy. Okay, hopefully that's fine. Alright, okay, so thank you for having me question grind and a little bit of drill. And like we discussed, the challenges and the successes of these genres. Is that fine?
Absolutely fine. Is my microphone?
Okay, great. Alright. So yes, I am an academic, so I suppose my approach, just for the listeners, is theoretical with a bit of research kind of thrown in, alright? And so I suppose the main kind of arguments or things that I want to advance when I'm talking about this today, about the challenges and the successes, is the importance of community and the role of community. And by community, I'm speaking about Black Britishness. And Black Britishness is beautiful in the sense that although it has its own internal antagonisms, it's built up or made out of so many different things because of the waves of migration that have come successively. Even though Black people were here before Windrush, but especially since Windrush, the successive waves that have come to kind of create what is Black British culture. And its overall inclusive nature within its own kind of cultural production of the things that it creates. And so if we kind of fast forward and we start to think about garage, garage as a genre, it was, well, owing to garage, I would argue anyway, because of its connection to community, its inclusive nature, it was one of the very first genres that enabled a crossover, a more consistent pattern of especially Black women artists. In many cases, in the British context, we find that, Black women artists, if they came in the industry, they would be positioned for, I suppose, the mainstream. But owing to the connection to community, people like Mystique, people like Miss Dynamite, although she could be considered more grimy garage, because of their connection to the community, they were able to kind of present music in a way that's authentically representative of themselves, or more authentically representative of themselves and of the communities that they're part of. And especially, so with grime, or with garage, and with grime, because of this connection to community, and this community, like I said, is Black British community, but very inclusive, so lots of other ethnic mixes in the scenes that kind of build these communities. they were able to have more autonomy over how they represent themselves as they cross over into the mainstream. As the mainstream, I started to think about, how can we kind of capitalize and make money on this? And so, because of that, the visibility in a more authentic way and the connection to the community was a triumph. But with that, owing to the nature of Britain towards black communities, in inverted commas, meant that there were lots of systems and structural things in place that would make it challenging. So when we think about people such as, or when the sound gets a bit darker, so from the kind of garage, when it gets a bit darker, starts to sound a bit more, or include more like heavy bass lines, a bit more spatial, so that the lyrics can come through, and we have people like So Solid, whilst they may have been involved in a variety of shenanigans, they become some of the first people that can kind of cross over on their own terms and are lambasted by the press. So narratives are beginning to conflate crime and, it happens with garage as well, but starting to conflate crime and black music forms together in a more public way, especially through the press and the ways in which these kind of narratives are being constructed about them in particular. And so we start to see once black musicians that are connected to the scene, they're able to kind of cross over more on their own terms, we start to see the ways in which the systems and structures really begin to kind of close in on that to kind of construct a more concrete narrative around black music and criminality. So whilst, shebeens in the past, that's kind of like the house parties where you might pay a fee to enter, and a whole variety of other black music forms may have been demonized and criminalized in a variety of ways, this kind of public ability to kind of cross over and mainstream requires a new level of attack so that everyone in the mainstream can pick up a newspaper and see, okay, this is really bad. And it kind of feeds into this idea of moral panic, young people, just involved in crime, it's all out of hand and everyone's got a gun and all this sort of stuff. So we start to kind of follow this trajectory. So the So Solid crew come first, and then we start to see other grime MCs kind of popping up. And yes, they are lauded, and some of them are lauded and celebrated, notably Dizzy Rascal. But, the communities from which grime comes from, very working class, very black British, and also around the time of grime now, we start to see a more of a West African influence kind of sonically finding its way into this trajectory. Because like I said, black Britishness is more than, it's made up of so many different kind of cultural influences that shape it, and it figures itself out as it kind of travels along across time. So, we have Dizzy Rascal coming out, and so this kind of narrative that's already been put in place about criminality, particularly locked into So Solid, although it was, like I said, it was kind of attached to garage to a certain extent as well. It starts to kind of, I think it's my hand, sorry, I forgot you've got the AI thing there. It starts to kind of take on a particular trajectory that eventually kind of leads into this idea of 696 that comes out in 2008. So, it's a criminal situation. Not to mention the government as well. I've started to bring out ASBOs, and the first ASBO was given to, Juniors from, his pirate radio station that he set up. So there's this whole kind of criminality around kind of black sound, especially once it becomes visible in spaces that are seen as, I suppose, more desirable, more mainstream, more acceptable. So we kind of have this kind of, the mechanisms and the mechanics kind of forming around that. So on the one hand, connection to the scene is great. It allows people to authentically show up more on their own terms, but in response, the demonization comes. It comes through the press, it can come through legislation, it can come through like noise abatement and all those sorts of kind of legislative things as well. And so when we think about 696, in particular, the artist then becoming the focus. If we can't quite control the people or control who goes to these places, we'll start to focus on the artist. We'll start to kind of tap into them, criminalize them for performing, and by doing that, then we can hopefully dissipate, the crowds that come and kind of gather together. Because there's a real power in togetherness, there's a real power in community that can really be fostered. Exchange of ideas, obviously the music situation, but the exchange of ideas, the exchange of ideology, and sort of kind of make those connections so that tangible things can come from these intangible kind of connections and moments of euphoria. So, we move on to the artists. Where their music can be played, and just a way to kind of dissipate people. Even though people are showing up, talking authentically about maybe their experiences, or things that they might just think are cool ideologically, they're the baddest MC or whatever else is going on, all right? We also start to see, as the West African population, or people of West African heritage more directly, as opposed to negating or going through the Caribbean, start to come into the mix by the 2000s as well. Coming of age, becoming teenagers, we start to hear the sound shifting as well. So this is why we start to have tribal house and UK funky, and we eventually get to Afrobeat by the time we get to 2010. So as people migrate, as young people grow up and begin to come of age, their own ancestral heritage and the kind of music they've inherited from their parents begin to kind of find their way in as well. It's not, Afrobeats is not demonized in the same way per se, but ultimately it is, it's for the most part, it's moving underground in the scene, mainly amongst West African communities to begin with, and then it eventually begins to spill over. But by this time, we have grime who's taken quite a bit of a hit and has managed to navigate and build itself on its own terms. The industry did get involved by the late 2000s, but then a lot of the artists that kind of were making more commercial sounding grime wanted to get out. So there's this idea of black musicians, as much as possible, I would imagine, that want to kind of do things a bit more on their own terms. The technological democratization enables people to kind of want to do things on their own terms and not have so much reliance on the industry, for example. So I think with technological democratization, connection to community, there are ways in which black artists have been able to be more visible on their, or more so on their own terms, whereas they had done in the past, which is great. People can tell authentic stories, can share sonics and sounds that represent who they are. That's kind of part of their sonic nationalism. But there are always ways to kind of chip back. So if you think about drill, now lyrics, if you say these lyrics in particular places, you can decriminalize. So there's new ways that the systems may try to kind of begin to chip away at or break up these ideas or these connections of community. And also connections of community in terms of coming together to enjoy, but also maybe sharing stories about realities that the community that they're connected to are experiencing or want to share or want to express. So I think, to cut a very long story short, and I know I'm limited to like 5 to 7 minutes, but it's the idea of connection to community that has been so powerful in enabling the crossover and the visibility in the mainstream, and obviously the inclusiveness of a lot of black cultural production, but then the way the systems, such as the press, I mean, they still say things about carnival even now, but the kind of media narrative that is constructed alongside it, and the legislation at local levels, such as noise abatement laws, and I suppose the wider kind of police 696, although that was abolished, but they've got their own other ways to kind of continue that kind of policing and breaking up of these things, keeps going forward. This kind of ongoing narrative, but connection to community is very, very important. And that's it.
Oh, fantastic. The music business course here, but that was like, it was called cultural, not the degree level in this university, but I used to teach on the graduate and postgraduate music business course in Westminster. So after a while, I contacted that for formal institutions. So my wife and I'm sure my wife is in the call, we set up an organization called BTWSC. Amongst other things, we teach music business courses. Money came on our course. And through that, and I think, I hope I'm right, I wrote a letter of support for her. She got, as a mature student, she got into Westminster. Then, oh no, did you go to Durham? You went to Durham.
That wasn't me. No. That wasn't me. But we did do the course. But then I was.
Yeah, go on.
No, I did do that course. I think it was 2005 I did that course. And then I was thinking about doing the music course at Westminster, but I didn't actually do it.
Okay.
So I think we spoke about it. I don't know, I can't remember.
Okay, so
if I
the
did.
problem as far as writing letter of support, that much I remember, so let's leave that. Before I wrote the situation, through a grassroots situation, she moved to do an undergraduate, went and done a PhD, and she's now an assistant professor somewhere in America. So, respect to you. And the last thing, you saw yourself for the second doctor. Oh, no, your mic, you see, there's some doctor, my mic is going yeah.
My mic. So I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on, but yes, I'm a cultural sociologist. I specialize in music and sound, and I am also a sound therapist as well, but that's slightly different.
Okay, and last year, I talked about my wife. We bought a private car. No, it doesn't sound grand, but it's not that grand. It's a small park. There are a lot of parks in Accra, Okano. So we, as Colin did, we talked about the reggae dream house thing. We launched we planted the Reggae Tree Ghana in Accra last year in July, and Monique was last year, you were there. I don't know how you but on that note, and I think Cleopatra needs to go. She's spoken out, so please give her the mic and let her do her thing.
Chloe is also an artist in residence here, by the way. He's got a big social media following, so please do share your socials afterwards too.
Thank you guys so much for coming. How are you doing? Good. So I do spoken word poetry. I'm also creative in residence at this university, and that means I'll be able to help students out and just liaise between lecturers and the students that come on courses. So my name's called Chloe Carter with 2 R's. Has anyone heard spoken word poetry before? Yeah. Okay, can we get some clips? Well, we say that clipping is old school, but it is a way to show appreciation. But nowadays we say cheese, so then we get cheese. Then we get I like that. Can we get, this is a new one, clock it. So feel free to shout any of these things whilst I perform. This poem is called Proud to Be, and it's all about being proud of where I come from. I've travelled from South London today, but has anyone travelled from North London?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, one. West London? Yeah. Okay, one again. East London? Yeah. South London? No! Wait, So this poem is called Proud to Be. And it says, there's 10 black girls in my area called, and I'm one of them, a part of this block, building block, on the block, not letting anything block me, see. I'm so proud to be from Hackney. It's central to the roots from my family tree, starting in Homerton B. I'm so proud to be shaped by my circle in square. Before you look into the future, you've got to look at what's here. And before you start building, look at the company you keep, the words you receive. See, I've learned to speak life into me. I did start late, that's black time into me. Rhyme into me in time, and you'll see that the inner work is forever. And if the goal is to change, make sure it's for the better. I know that the feeling of being proud is a deep feeling of pleasure. And that's when I decide to have drive even when I need a break. On this journey, be cool life, have more self-love than self-hate. I promise, these words, you can learn from it. But this next lesson is a hard one. Some people are for you, but not for who you'll become. But being who you are is not anything you should run from. You should be saying, I am so proud to be. So repeat after me. I am so proud to be.
So proud to be.
Guys, it's really giving Tuesday morning. We need some Friday night.
I'm so proud to be.
Okay, the full sentence. I am so proud to be me.
I am so proud to be me.
Thank you.
Podcast, and I tell you, I was so enthralled. I listened to quite a number, and I heard Darkest. So next time it's called Be Unstoppable. Check out Darkest, because Darkest was just opening with him. And I think it's not about other people that have been open with him. So look, we play this 3 and then Ed, you count, and then music for courses. So we've got the, you talk that.
I'm also founder of Unstoppable Ventures. Over the past 25 years, I've had a front row seat to the changing relationship between the music industry and black music. It's been a journey of both incredible progress and deep frustration. When I first came into the industry, black music was often treated as a genre, not as a global force that shaped trends, economies, and entire industries. Fast forward to today, and it's undeniable that black music is the backbone of the modern music economy. Yet when you look at where the power sits, at board tables, in investment committees and senior decision-making roles, the representation is still painfully thin. That's something I've worked to address in every role I've held, from the work I did with the PRS Foundation, where we created power, to the work that I achieved at AIM, where I focused on building pathways for independent entrepreneurs and executives. Power Up was born out of necessity. It was about creating a fraternity and sorority-style network of black talent across all corners of the industry. The goal was simple: build a system of interdependence where we could tap into each other's resources, opportunities, and experience, rather than waiting to be invited in. It was about rewriting the narrative from representation to empowerment, and that remains one of the things that I'm most proud of. Now, we're at a crucial crossroads again. The economic downturn has hit the music sector hard, and what's glaringly obvious is that many of the first people to go have been senior black executives. The few who remain are holding on under intense pressure. It's disheartening, but it's also revealing. It shows that even after all the talk of equity and inclusion, progress can be fragile when times get tough. But I don't believe that that's where the story ends, because with every challenge, there's an opportunity. And for us, this is a chance to reclaim ownership. If the door keeps closing, then maybe it's time we build our own house. We have the talent, the knowledge, and the global influence to do business with each other, invest in each other, and build an ecosystem that serves us first. Imagine what could happen if black managers, artists, producers, investors, and executives decided to trade, invest, and grow collectively, to create our own economic cycle. That's how other communities build generational power. That's how we shift from being participants in the industry